What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be having a look at reveal distance in Black Ops Cold War. Now, reveal distance is one of the stats that you see on the flashlight attachments as well as the target designator. And this is something where I notice a lot of people have a basic understanding of it, but they don't know all the details and exactly how this works, so that's what I'm going to be breaking down in today's video. And the first thing I want to look at is the reveal distance without any attachments on your gun. So without that flashlight or the target designator, what does it take to reveal an enemy, to see their red name pop up or their health bar to pop up above them? And it's pretty simple. Without these attachments, you have to be aiming pretty much directly on the character model in order for that to appear. When aiming down sight, it seems like this range is infinite, or at least it's definitely far enough in the 6v6 maps to where if you are aiming on a target, you will see their health bar and name tag above them. However, when you aren't aiming down sight, you do have to be within 25 meters of your target in order for their name tag and health bar to appear. And once again, you do have to be aimed directly on the character model for that to appear. So that's sort of the baseline without these attachments, and you can see that that's not really all that helpful because you have to be aiming directly at your target for you to get that indicator to pop up. Now let's get into these attachments, and we'll start it off with the flashlights, which help with your reveal distance in all situations, whether you're aiming down sight or not aiming down sight. It's still going to be helping for you, whereas the target designator only works while aiming down sight, and we'll cover that after we cover the flashlights. So the first thing to point out here is what this actually does is it makes that red dot appear above the enemy character model's head, and you don't have to be aiming directly at the target. In fact, with these flashlights, as long as you're within their reveal distance range, which is stated in the in-game stats, then you're going to have these red dots popping up above enemy character models' heads, as long as they're within a certain window on your screen. And this is the window of your screen that they have to be within in order for that red dot to appear, which is quite a large window. And it's worth noting that changing your field of view will not change this window. It is that section of your screen, no matter what, that is the reveal distance window for the flashlights. And this was quite a surprising result. I was very surprised that field of view didn't change this at all. And therefore, if you have a really high field of view, you can actually be covering a really good portion of the map, and all of those enemies that are within this window will end up showing up with a red dot above their head unless they're using cold-blooded. That is the counter to these flashlights and the target designator. But yeah, that's the basics of what this does for you. Now let's get into the target designator, which only gives you reveal distance while aiming down sight. And it's pretty much the same story here, but it only applies while aiming down sight. We've got a certain viewing window while aiming down sight and using the target designator where if an enemy is within that window, then that red dot will once again show up above their head. It's also worth noting that once again, field of view has no impact on the size of this window, and therefore there technically is some benefit for using a higher field of view, especially with the affected setting enabled when using the target designator. And this is where I want to compare the target designator a bit more directly to the flashlights, because all I showed you so far was the flashlights working while hip firing, not aiming down sight. However, it turns out that reveal window when using the flashlights is exactly the same when aiming down sight, and therefore significantly larger than you see with the target designator. And this means as long as you're within that reveal range, the flashlights are far superior to the target designator. They will expose people in a much larger area around your field of view. The only real benefit you get out of using the target designator rather than the flashlights is your reveal distance while aiming down sight is significantly longer. So at really long ranges, yes, the target designator is going to be working out better for you, but if you're generally finding yourself within the range of the reveal distance of your flashlight, then you're far better off using a flashlight. So those are the main elements I wanted to point out with these attachments. However, let's get into a few other things. One of the big things and one of the big reasons to use a flashlight would be on the map Cartel. Cartel has those infamous bushes that are always in the way, especially in the middle of the map, and they are really frustrating to deal with because enemies can just blend into them so effectively that they can often be right on top of you and you still can't see where they're at. With the flashlights, as long as there's technically a few pixels of the enemy character model visible and they're within that window on your screen, then that red dot will appear while using a flashlight. If, however, they're crouched nicely in the bushes or you're crouched in the bushes and there isn't technically any pixels of them showing on your screen, then that red dot won't appear. So it's not a 100% perfect counter to the bushes, but it definitely helps a lot when fighting in this particular area on the map Cartel. So for me, I actually have my Cartel specific class that I will pull out if I'm ever having a hard time on Cartel, and with that class set up, I do have a flashlight equipped for this map specifically. Now, one other thing to mention with the flashlights is they also work like a flashlight, so you can actually see the light that's coming from them. You could argue that in a really dark situation, that light might also just help you see your target a bit more effectively. I don't know about that one so much, and I wouldn't rely on that too much. But one thing I found interesting is the enemy players can't really see the light coming from that flashlight. They can't see that shining on walls. They can see the light itself if they're looking at the flashlight directly in your hands, but it's not like a super bright flashlight or anything. It's not like the scope glint on sniper rifles, for instance. But the main thing I want to point out here is the enemies can't see where you're shining the light. So if you have an enemy that's around a corner, for instance, and you want to challenge them, you don't really have to worry about that flashlight giving away your position before you are actually visible, because the enemy won't be able to see that light. This is also a great time to mention laser sights in this game as well. With the laser sights, a lot of people have been asking, can you see those laser sights like you can with the 5 milliwatt and the TAC lasers in Modern Warfare? And it turns out in Cold War, not really. Technically, you can see the laser coming out of their gun, but it's only a little bit that's projected out of their weapon model. You can't actually see the laser hitting any surfaces, and you can't see it at a distance either. You can only see it immediately projecting outside of the gun. So in practical terms, no, you really can't see enemy lasers, but technically speaking, yes, and if they were to just barely peek around a corner where you can't quite see their barrel, technically they are projecting a laser farther than their barrel in most cases. But in reality, it's not something you really need to worry about if you are somebody that's using a laser attachment, because the chance of an enemy seeing that laser without seeing you is slim to none. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on the flashlights and target designator and how reveal distance works in Black Ops Cold War. And this is where I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about these reveal distance attachments like the flashlights in Cold War? Do you think they're a crutch attachment that you should be using on like all of your class setups? Or do you only pull them out every now and then, like on Cartel for instance, which is pretty much what I do? Or do you think they're basically just useless and you never use them at all? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.